Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this session on the budget cycle in local governments. My names are Ambrose Jimmy Atwoko. I'm a good governance expert and an organizational development expert and a trainer on governance. Today, we are talking about the budget cycle. In August, the consultation is now held between the central government and the local governments. This is what we call the regional consultative budget workshops. Normally, the people of Central Region goes to Masaka, the people of Eastern Region go to Mbale, the people of Northern Region, the local governments in Northern Region go to Gulu. So the Ministry of Finance is the chief convener of these budget consultative workshops. In September, when the regional consultative workshops has been done, the Local Government Finance Commission, under the law, is required to convene a meeting between the sector ministries and representatives of the local governments. Now, when the discussion is finalized, which is chaired by the Local Government Finance Commission, an agreement is signed between the local government representatives and the sector ministries to confirm that in the coming financial year, we shall be receiving this amount of grant from Ministry of Agriculture, this amount of grant from the Education Ministry, this amount of grant from the Ministry of Works, and this amount of grant from Uganda Road Fund. So this is important because some of the grants implement services directly implemented by the sector ministries. So this negotiation will clarify which project will be implemented by the local government on behalf of the ministry, which project will the ministry implement directly, and which project will the sub-county implement on behalf of the ministry. So when the negotiation has been reached, then an agreement is signed. It must be witnessed by Ministry of Finance representatives, Ministry of Public Service, Ministry of Local Government, and the National Planning Authority. In September, when this agreement has been concluded, a budget call circular to the local governments will be issued by the Ministry of Finance. Now, it will be detailing what was agreed in form of the figures, the resources that are available, how what should be included in the outputs, what should be included at the higher local government level, and what should be included at the lower local government level, and which grants are coming from the central government ministries. Now, when the budget call has been issued to LGs, this is received by the local government budget desk, and it is shared to the heads of departments. Those ones heading education, works, roads, and production. Now, the heads of departments will now share this in interim planning figures with the lower local governments. This is done through issuance of the first local government budget call cycle. Take note, the first budget call cycle was from the Ministry of Finance to local governments with the required information about the interim planning figures. After it has been received at the local government level through the budget desk, it is distributed through the first local government budget call cycle. So when the local government budget call cycle is issued, it will detail the amount of monies available from the sector conditional grants, local revenue, development grants, and then recurrent. So these ones is distributed to the departments, and the departments will work with the lower local governments to develop a budget framework paper. It is important to note that the budget call circular will include information to guide local government planning and budgeting, such as information from the grant and budget information paper. For transfers from central government, it will also provide the stakeholders of the budget conference specifying information that each stakeholder may submit in advance. When all this is done, now in October, the lower local governments now prepare their budget framework paper, indicating what was discussed in the budget conference, what was sieved out as projects to be implemented at the lower local government levels. Then at the higher local government level, they receive projects that cannot be captured in the resource envelope at the lower local government levels, and they include it at the higher local government level. So each respective department, education, production, works, planning, health, will now receive this and make it fit into the resource envelope that was issued in the first budget called circular. So this one forms the components of the budget framework paper. Now, members need to know that resources that have been indicated to allow you plan within is not written in stone. There's a concept of flexibility. The concept of flexibility allows local governments, higher local governments, to reallocate conditional grant funding between the votes to cater for the shortfalls that they think is key. And this flexibility has been used several times by many local governments among you. The ceiling for this flexibility of shuffling money between sectors from a conditional grant is 10%. You are not allowed to flex and move funds within the votes beyond 10%. So as leaders, for instance, in the education sector, they can give you money for school construction, 250 million or 600 million. Now, the concept of flexibility tells you that you can pick 10% of the 600 million for infrastructure and use it to construct a girl-child toilets, to increase the stances, to accommodate more girls. You can use it for sanitary pads within the education sector. So that is the concept of flexibility, which I want you as leaders to appreciate and take advantage of. Most times, most local government councils just pass the budget without exploiting flexibility. Now, after the process of compiling lower local government priorities by the budget desk, it is now forwarded to the executive committee and the technical planning committee. The technical planning committee now calls the budget conference. The budget conference will now discuss the views from the community, the views from the lower local governments, and aggregate all of them and forward to the higher local government. The budget desk will compile and then prepare it as part of the higher local government budget framework paper. Remember, we have observed that the lower local government prepared the BFP, forwarded it to the higher local governments. Now, the information in the lower local government BFPs is now brought, and it forms part of the higher local government BFP. And it includes all the views. These are now forwarded to the technical planning committee of the higher local government, where the sector heads evaluate the wishes, the requirements, and fit it within the resource envelope. The resource envelope available is from local government revenues, conditional grants from sector ministries, equalization grants from the Ministry of Finance, and donor funding. So in October, the budget conference is concluded. Out of that, we have proposals for the higher local government budget framework paper. In November, these proposals are compiled into a budget framework paper. It's then presented to the Technical Planning Committee, who reviews submissions from the sub-counties and approves. This is then forwarded to be approved by the Executive Committee at a higher local government level. The BFP being considered at the higher local government level includes the priorities of the lower local governments. It is then presented by the Executive Committee to the Standing Committee for the respective sectors. If it is education, the priorities of education is from the BFP is channeled to the Education Standing Committee. If it is for finance and administration, the priorities in the BSP is now channeled to the Finance and Administration Standing Committee. The Standing Committees now review these proposals that came from the parish to the sub-county to the district. And they now make sure that it complies with all the budget requirements that are laid out in the budget, in the grant and budget information paper from the Ministry of Finance. Now the standing committees complete their job and produce a report with recommendations either to move resources from each sector or department from construction of a toilet to making of a school desk. That is the Education Standing Committee. So they can shuffle it a bit, but they don't go beyond the available resources for the Education Department. So the report of the Standing Committee is compiled, and this one now is forwarded to the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance will now use this information from the various standing committees from the higher local government to prepare the national budget framework paper. Local government budget call cycler will now confirm that these are the actual indicative planning figures about the resources available for each sector in the district and the municipality. That should guide production or preparation of the actual budget estimates and annual work plans. So when this is received, the departments, especially the heads of departments, will now work with the standing committees to make adjustments and enter the final indicative planning figures to produce the final draft budget estimates and work plans. These final budget estimates and work plans is now combined with that one of the lower local governments, and then it is submitted to the Executive Committee through the budget desk. Now, the budget desk will now compile the budget estimates and annual work plans of the lower local government and the higher local government into the district municipal budget estimates and annual work plans. This is then consolidated and submitted to the Executive Committee, who will review the budget and then inform the lower local governments council and the higher local government council about the final draft annual work plan and budget. So by April, feedback from central government to LGs will come after the budgets are submitted to the central government to confirm that they have complied with the sector grant requirements, with the grant and budget information paper requirements. So this is now confirmed, and the district municipal councils now finalize and approve the budget with the revisions that has been given to them by the Ministry of Finance. So when this is done, all local governments must approve their budget. The lower ones must approve their budget by 30th April. So that the higher local governments will approve their budget by 31st of May. The intention here is the lower local government budget estimates and annual work plan must feed into the higher local government. So then this is now submitted to the Ministry of Finance, and then it is amalgamated. It forms part of the national budget. Now, all districts must know that the final draft budget and annual work plan must be signed by the Speaker of the District Council, of the Municipal Council, to confirm that these matters were reviewed in Council and adopted. This is important because the Ministry of Finance will check this. When this has been done, the Ministry of Finance will receive the budgets and annual estimates from all the local governments in Uganda and now issue the final planning figures. These final planning figures will now help local governments produce performance contracts. When this cycle is now concluded, implementation of the programs and projects approved in the budget of each local government can now start. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is the budget cycle.